But yeah, I'm just surprised that the Swain didn't end up moving a little bit sooner. His now, Jana, no flash.
Heal, flash, auto attack, first blood. Froggy is the one to pick that one up, and Evelyn Bot is in the area. Descent does drop the Rift Guard. They're going to look to engage. It's going to be a Cataclysm getting dropped down, but Vagar got pulled into the Cataclysm, which could be trouble.
Ooh.
Down goes Evelyn Bot. Down goes the Vagar as well. Hugs Descent and the support on the one side, but they're going to be the ones to get engaged on. Ultimate coming out for the Malphite onto the Vagar, but the Vagar is still okay for right now. He's going to try to flash the rest of his team as Evelyn Bot is on the look. The Caitlyn was left all alone on the backside, and no free hugs is now left all alone with everybody else from Farmingdale.
That's game!
Both of them are level 4. No Zillion bombs are available right now, which means French Delta Force is going to be able to get in. There's the flash, but the flag and drag lands, and El Unicornio in a lot of trouble. French Delta Force not able to get the kill. That one's going to go over to Huracan. Vagar doesn't quite know where he is. Has spotted him out. Here comes the Jarvan over the wall. Multiple members over the wall now as they're trying to get as much damage as possible. French Delta Force able to get the first kill. Now, bearing down on to the Xayah. They are going to get revived by the Zillion, but weak side. It just means they're a sitting duck to give more kills.
There's nothing. Yeah, they quite literally.
Malphite getting in there on multiple members here. Weak side is now starting to join the fight here. Somebody's in stasis, somebody's resurrecting, but it doesn't just matter. They're just all meant to die to Vagar. It's a double kill for weak side, a double kill for French Delta Force. They get a kill back.
Leave the old man alone!
But they are going to be able to close out onto the Zillion. The cherry on top for Froggy and Farmingdale State College.
Holding on to this stock at 160.
Oh yeah, both of these characters decently heavyweight, gonna be seeing very large percentages. And the back ear from that fat mansion to take it right there.
I see it too. Oh, good forward air tipper there. Hope should be able to recover from this unless you get countered. Dags with a huge opener there.
But Splat says, listen, I need you to get right back off stage. It's nice that you want to get here. You gotta go.
And the block, I think, actually helps Splat there. Again, falling because the second hit of that.
I didn't get to show out last time the way I wanted to. I'll do it.
He's all warmed up now, but he will drop that stock this time around. Gordo up tilt, a week where they went to set number 3 and fell in that previous series.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow, what a down here. So you can kind of slowly build up damage. And then your armored move will not connect with all the hits, so you won't get the kill. And then you die. Tries to go for a very early up B kill right there. And your shield looks like a Skittle, and that will be it. The forward smash should be able to take it and hope with the JV3 against Splat.
That I think if you can use Milkman to shut down a B rush, you're pretty happy with that, especially if they're rushing right in. Mental Athlete catches 2, looking for more. Chris will not be outdone. Make it 3 for Mental Athlete. Yeah, that was more. You're more than happy with that trade.
And that means no KJ utility either, no extra peaks, and there's a quick trade down. Hookah wins between the Omens. It's Ummo, and uh-oh for Mars Hill, as that's gonna be a Brooklyn College first map win. Players, just 1 shot left, probably 30 HP combined as Noodle gets traded. It's all up to Chris. Headshot necessary for Excite as he's trying to dance around the side, doesn't know where he's coming from. And Chris just barely secures it. I think 1 more second of stalling, and that's a Mars Hill round, so absolutely brutal. The concussion come through, flashpoints as well. This is an all-out brawl.
So much utility.
Ramp coverage. And everyone's here, and it's all looking good for Brooklyn, maintaining that weapons advantage, just rushing on in, and that's a flawless in this map point round. Suddenly surrounded, I think got shut down by a Rolling Thunder, and sure, Guyper's looking the wrong way, but that is a perfect defending half for Mars Hill for the win. Shot down, and that's gonna be an extra kill from the blast, and now it's just Guyper left after a flurry of kills. And no time to waste. There's too much on the clock. Lots of damage dealt, but only one taken down.
Trades on one on each, and Knives finally come out though. I could hear them. Didn't look like they caught anything though. There's the flank. Axite with a stringer doesn't find anything now. But trades coming through. One on each. Chris continue to trade 2-2.
Oh
coming
no!
Down. Finally the picks on Pixie.
Oh!
That's it. MHU stays alive.
Another moment where you're worried for him. As Polo Spring gets that first blood. 2 members left. We've seen August come alive when moments require it, but now with worse weapons and not quite the angle. That is a 13-10 win.
And, well, we're already underway.
That we are, and I'm just so happy to be here. Of course, it's going to be Kilo Miles leading in on all the action, and I am Captain Ahsoka, going to be your co-host and commentator for today. And already, before we can even get the introductions done,
However, when iTheta gets the hit, then it's Nick Jam popped into the air, and that's no good. Especially when you're knocked off stage. Nick Jam trying to recover, going high, but gets knocked out of the air by the forward air, swatted away. Can he get it again? Waits for the air dodge, but he misses the up B.
Already you can see Ken trying to get right back to work, but they're in the red. They're in the critical percentages. One solid hit, and honestly, from Ike, nearly every hit is solid, as that will just about do it. It's the up air to get the final stock. Oh, nice forward throw off of the edge. Not going to be able to confirm, though, as yet another final elimination goes the way of iTheta. And if I'm not mistaken, that's 3 up, 3 down. FSU take the dub.
Oh, Helix. I would have liked to see him press that because you can't get that height off the wall, and Mux is going to be able to take advantage of it. And I mean, we've seen flip resets, we've seen ceiling challenges, and we just get the basic old school air dribble to go right into the net. It's going to be Helix with the dribble away. Bumps 11-10 out of the way as well. That might be a goal. Helix over the top. Great downfield pass, and they're going to take advantage of the space created by this demolition. Able to get that one away. Helix going to get a pass back to the midfield, looking for Pancake. Going for the double tap. Squishy save attempt, not going to be there. Here's Helix off the side, and a forced own goal once again. Concord's going to take the lead. And Pancake's not able to read that as Helix gets a monster dunk here. Can you turn around on it? He can. Helix.
Just realizing this ball's got to go somewhere and always knows. Now Matt Mux down bottom. Oh, brutal right there. Oxygen. Okay.
84?
82. My goodness.
Okay,
I could not have been farther off. Excuse me, folks. Excuse me.
Hello and welcome back everyone to this broadcast. We are here with the ECAC Elite 1 Division, the start of the round robin here in this spring 2024 season with the League of Legends matches. My name is Orbital. With me is the best minion to ever wander off the rift. It is Random Minion Caster, and we will be covering this matchup here today. RMC, how you doing today?
Hype Orbital, it's been too long, and finally Collegiate League is starting back up. ECAC especially, and Orbital, they've changed the formats a little bit, so the divisions have moved around a little bit. We've got Elite 1. I believe there are 4 Elite divisions now, this split. So this is one of them. And we're starting with a bit of a banger. We've got champions, Orbital. Champions of the Rivals Gold and Plat division who have moved their way up into the Elite division. SUNY, Canton, LOL, A Squad. And up against them is a team, Ole Miss, that probably a lot of people have heard of, the university at any rate, but this is Ole Miss Red. These are some of their newer members that, they're really starting to build on to make sure that program has the players they need to be able to replace the main team players.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a battle between the veterans versus the newcomers, right? And I put it that way because I think that's really what it is. Whenever a team, we've talked about it, we've seen teams move in different regions, right? Whether it be collegiate, whether it be an AM. I know you've seen it multiple times. These teams, they rise up. Hey, I have a challenge ready to go. We just won a division. Hey, we go up. Oh, dear, dear, dear. And sometimes that can happen. So I am curious to watch SUNY's level. Ole Miss Red, though, I think we really got to highlight this because there is one player that you and I know from the AM scene. We know they're coming back, or in the collegiate scene. But there are a few members that I think we're going to have to watch for. The reason that you mentioned this, it is going to be a very tough matchup for them, especially as a new team. Icarus coming in here. We'll highlight them first, coming in here in the jungle.
Right, so if you did follow the fall split of collegiate, you might have known the Ole Miss squad was really, really strong. But they had a bit of a mishap in the top lane and they had to swap a substitute in mid-season. That substitute was Icarus, who we're going to see tonight on Ole Miss Red. What you might not have known is that Icarus is not a top laner. He played top lane for that particular Ole Miss squad, but he's actually a jungler. So tonight he'll be playing jungle. And on this roster, Ole Miss Red is a newer roster that just came together this semester, and that's why we're talking about experience versus sort of newer rosters. But there's some old ties on this roster as well. Dinky, their top laner, was actually on the same squad with Icarus back when they won the NACE Fall 2022 season. Now, it's worth noting, Icarus played top and Dinky played support back then. But they're still on the same teams, and I'm hoping those communications will yield more results now that one of them is a jungler and the other's in the solo lane.
And we can talk a little bit more about them once we get into game, but right now we got to get to game as Ole Miss Red are currently on that blue side. You can already see the bans flowing out here. It is that Kai'Sa, which is quite surprising. Kai'Sa has had a fun time in the new current meta. However, I believe Swag is a very large proponent of the Kai'Sa pickups, loves that run. And then, of course, if you're on Red's side, you have one of two choices. It's either Azir or Corki, or you leave them both and you take one.
Orbital, I think at the highest levels that might be true, but here there's a lot of pocket picks. And speaking of pocket picks, there's one that I think both teams actually really don't want to get their hands on, and it's Lux. In the mid lane, Zekarum for SUNY plays that champion a lot, whereas on Ole Miss Red, their support Courtney spams that champion like none other. So I expect to see it highly contested, maybe even first pick, or maybe even banned.
I think that's what game one is really going to shake out. I do like the target towards that top side, though. Man8 likes saying, hey, I'm not going to get this Cassante. Fine, that's okay. Dinky, of course, this is the lane matchup that we do want to watch for. Dinky needs a good matchup, needs a strong one to work with. The Vayne hovered, if that's banned away, Groundhog may be waiting a little bit longer to see Spring because that is a heavy carry champion banned away.
Not gonna lie, I'm kind of shocked over the seeing a Vayne ban. I think it speaks to how scary Groundhog can be on that champion. A huge potential carry, but a very dangerous one that can come through. Now, for Ole Miss, they're still looking for bans, and I feel like the Cassante ban was a bit meta. Varus would be also very meta if they wanted to go with that. We're seeing a lot of Lucian, a lot of Kalista as well. Strong early game champions, and yep, they've gone to the meta ban. And I call it meta because I don't think of Varus when I look at Swagaband's OPGG history. So this feels more of a safety sort of thing. We're okay with what he normally plays. We just don't want to deal with meta.
Well, you talked about the difference between meta and unique. The unique is coming out here, taking away a third possible ban out of SUNY, and I think that will work. It is banned away, so taking a look at what first pick is available, plenty of meta right now. Hwei is there if you really do like it. I don't think either of these teams do really like to run it, though. So we'll see what Ole Miss Red do choose, and it's a hover over the Sivir. I like this. Go ahead, get a simple ADC. This also screams to me, you're not really focused on the bot lane. That is a mid to late game pickup that is safe.
Well, I'd argue, Orbital, that maybe they're starting to put their eggs a little bit into this bot lane. They want it to scale, but it is surprising. Season 14, we were talking about new starts, Orbital. Well, Season 14 has moved a lot towards early game aggression, especially in that bot side. The ability to kind of let your support roam out, and that's why we're talking about Lucian, Kalista. Sivir, as you mentioned, is on the opposite side of the spectrum. And now for SUNY, do they want to try and punish this particular pick? Sivir is very, very vulnerable early on. She's got shoved, but that's about it. Alternatively, we might see them try and match scaling, and I'm trying to think of what scaling champions are currently in meta. I feel like, Aphelios is probably the main one, but Swaggerman doesn't really... Oh, he does play some Aphelios. Zeri is also not meta.
What? I mean, Listen, if you're going to mess, you're going to mess,
Okay.
and you are going to mess with the best, you go ahead, lock it in. This is going to be an oddball bot lane to watch for. The Maokai, though, is one that we did not get to touch on that I think is very important, very highly prioritized in the current meta. So just grabbing that one, it's understood. You let it go. Ole Miss Red, though, need a response here. This is the very important part. Either you go ahead and pick to match the Maokai in some way or form, or you go ahead and find a different lockdown, and I like it. You go ahead, hover that Vi if it's locked in, and it negates a lot of the roots, and it gives you an in on that Zeri.
Yeah, and Vi has always been one of those answers to Zeri. Heck, we've even seen Vi support run as an answer to Zeri back when Zeri was super meta. I like it into the Maokai as well. You can't really stop Vi from getting in there even with all that CC. It's unstoppable ultimate. To round out that bot lane, yeah, Ole Miss is really going skill in here, Orbital. Courtney loves her sort of mages or her enchantresses, I guess. And so I feel like this Soraka pickup fits perfectly. It can be vulnerable, especially if we do see an aggressive sort of bot lane, ideally something like a Blitzcrank, which can really hook and punish the Soraka, though it's a little bit tough into the Sivir. Or heck, you could just go for a regular tank or... Oh, hold up. Is that Maokai support? Nocturne jungle?
It could be. We'll have to wait and see right now. I like it.
Okay.
The Nocturne has seen a rise in priority as well. The level and ability to get in on a line and also deny a lot of vision has been imperative. Once it hits level 6, you start getting that aggression. But here's the problem. You do have to ban out that silence. That is understood. You take a look at the ults down the line. You had the Maokai ult. You also had the Paranoia. You can't allow those to fall into the hands of Ole Miss Red. So it's like, okay. Ban that one. Wait, that's understood. For Ole Miss Red, though, how do you actually counter this? Because now you do realize you are losing sight and vision. So do you start focusing a little bit more in that support role? Take away those other engage tools. Nautilus is one that a lot of people like to kind of mention with engage. However, Blitzcrank is also quite strong. But as you said, the Maokai might be that support already. So go ahead, focus some of those solo lanes. The Akali taken away.
Okay, yeah, because I'm thinking technically Maokai could be flexed to the 3 lanes. He can still go top. He can go jungle. He can go support. But looking at, what Manape likes to play on the side of SUNY, I don't see Maokai as one of those champions. He likes his lane bullies, his aggressors, so that's what I expect to see. A lot of mid lane focus, right? Akali being taken away, and now the Lissandra being hovered as well. Both these teams seem to be okay with their top laners just getting their pick of the litter, and to me that's really curious. We mentioned before Dinky is a support main, so I think that his pool might be a bit more punishable.
And I think that's what they're maybe looking at. I'm not sure, but the way this is, I mentioned earlier, way I've really enjoyed lately. I love seeing the rise up. Of course, it is primarily utility. If you look just about anywhere, I mean, the kit just screams we can do everything, just not dish out a whole lot of damage until late. But it was only a hover. Instead, it is going to be a third or fourth ban, if you will, into that mid lane, maybe a fifth if you lean that Lux in there as well. Heavy focus, but because you banned away the TF, it was hovered, and it's a great follow-up if you are going to try and catch up to the rest of the Maokai and that Nocturne.
Okay, Orbital. So right now, both these teams, I'm thinking they're looking for top lane and potentially mid lane. Vel'Koz's hover here could be either support or mid lane. I'm leaning towards mid lane because Zekarum is known to play that Vel'Koz in the mid lane. A lot of range, a lot of safety from this SUNY roster, the picks that have come through so far. And I would like to see a dive buddy for Nocturne as their last pick, and for Ole Miss as well. I feel like they might need a bit more peel. So far, Sivir and Soraka are very exposed. And I'm just thinking, what sort of mid lane would be good for peel? Maybe something like a Talia to be able to disengage. For now, they look at the top lane, and Ornn is one of the few champions that Dinky does play in the top side. A lot of Ornn, a lot of Aatrox that comes through for him.
I mean, that's what you were talking about, that front line now being granted over to Ole Miss Red. The Orianna, if it is locked in, feels like a nice all-around. You can send the Shockwave with that vibe, but it's just like, this feels, I don't want to say old school, but it does feel like a very front-to-back team fight. Just like, don't worry too much about what's going on, about the new meta. Just play what we know and what we love. And I don't hate it. It just feels a little bit outdated at points. I like seeing the new aggression that comes out in the early game. This does scream that mid. SUNY Canton, though, maybe going that route, actually leaning in. As you saw that Zeri being hovered, this is also building up to be that kind of tanky little bit of front line if it is fully locked in. If that Dr. Mundo is sent, could be the bruiser to deal with. It is. There you go, the big purple man in the top lane.
Okay, Orbital, we've seen the drafts coming for both these teams. Let's talk a little bit about it because, like you kind of mentioned, they're both strong drafts in isolation in and of themselves. We'll start with Ole Miss. I really like their composition. It's a really strong team fighting comp. You've got a ball delivery system in the shape of Vi to enable Orianna to get in there. Clear Love will have a very strong shockwave tool, especially if Icarus can get into the backline. Really solid. I like it. Problem is, their early game is going to be very, very weak Orbital.
Yeah.
It's very, very vulnerable. And Sivir, Orianna, both of them need a bit of time to skill up as well. I look across to SUNY, and I'm not seeing that early game that you'd want to have to take advantage of the old missed draft necessarily. But they too have strong team fighting. Zeri skills up incredibly well.
Yes.
Excuse me. And the Nocturne, really good dive potential. But I am a little bit scared because I don't see a dive buddy for that Nocturne that I was kind of calling for. Mundo's a really good frontliner, but trying to reach the Sivir in the back can get kind of dicey with the amount of slows, the potential route that can come through from a Soraka as well, CC from Ornn, CC from Bai. So both these teams, strong team fighting. And the way I see this game kind of playing out, either we're going to see two teams just show off their team fighting prowess, in which case I'm favoring the Sivir a little bit. She was one of the old answers to Zeri. She does more damage in these team fights. Or what the other alternative I see coming through is maybe SUNY. We mentioned Man-Ape, like he likes his top lane bullies. Mundo can bully out Ornn, does % health damage, and maybe he gets far ahead enough that he can take over the game.
I mean, that could be a possibility. I mean, now that you have the introduction of those grubs as well, Lil Garrett now has a way to kind of funnel towards that top side. If you're leaning towards your strong side, you're now... this is the fact that I do love about the game. I know a lot of people were talking up the grubs at the early start, and now it's kind of waned. You know, there is some talk that, hey, maybe you don't have to put as much prio on it as we originally thought. You know, maybe it's not worth sacrificing 4 or 5 members, but it still allows an ability to now go towards that top side. I do expect to see Lil Garrett, you know, hey, favor that top side, maybe get a lead there, and then steamroll it out, use that level 6 that you just got, maybe beating Dinky and Icarus. Icarus on the other side just has to keep that in mind. You now have to realize, hey, that top side, if I let it get out of control, that Mundo and the Nocturne are going to be in my face 24/7.
I agree. And if you look at it, you know, the fact that Man-Ape likes to take control of the lane, you'd think it's a favorable matchup into Dinky, who's role swapping into this role. Kind of tough, but when you start taking into account junglers as well, that's when it gets complicated because Icarus has a lot of experience, has played in higher levels, and, I mean, has worked with Dinky in the past. So I expect to see Icarus maybe set up a bit of a tent in that top lane, get some ganks rolling, because heaven knows, I'm looking at the other lanes, and Orianna mid into Vel'Koz, I'm not expecting much kill threat there. Bot lane into with the Sivir Soraka, that's not a kill lane by any shot. So I do feel like Icarus' best shot to try and get early kills is going to be the top side. And it's a Mundo, it's a little bit difficult. Okay, let's be honest, it's going to be quite difficult. But Ornn does have % health damage as well, so if there is a lane where I want to see almost red play to, it's going to be top side.
All right, well, top side is there, but let's look at some of the others. I know you said it might be boring in the mid and bot side, but there's going to be action, I think, just about everywhere if they so wish. And I'm actually looking in towards that mid lane. Right now, Clear Love, I mean, the Orianna picked up later. I understand. I believe it was a blind pick. I get that. I understand that. It's still, like, I want to see Harass come out if you can. However, the Vel'Koz negates that entirely, so I'm actually really, really curious how is that mid lane actually going to shake out here for Zekarim on one of these almost pocket pick style champions.
Yeah, and part of it's going to be a range battle because Vel'Koz's ultimate, of course, this integration ray can be stopped with the shockwave if you can reach the Vel'Koz. The range of that ult's pretty long, and therefore as Orianna, normally as a control mage, you control the space with the ball really, really well, but Vel'Koz plays right at the edge of that. So mid is definitely going to be a skill matchup. If there are going to be kills orbital, I'm expecting junglers to be involved. I'm expecting to see it usually level 6. One of the changes with Season 14, of course, was kind of setting the towers back a little bit or giving a bit more space and making the bushes a bit further away from that mid lane. So technically these less mobile mages like Orianna, like Vel'Koz, are safer now in Season 14. And of course, that only applies to jungle ganks. If they mess up against each other in the trades, then hey, all bets are off.
Yeah, there was a moment, and I sit there going, you know, as a mid lane player myself, I haven't felt any changes. The junglers still love to go mid, and I still cry every time watching the jungler just like run down my. I had an Ivern game that the enemy team was Ivern, literally ganked my lane 7 times. Granted, I was Sway, so I think that was well warranted. But I do like the idea that it's safety in numbers, and it does provide that variety going into that mid lane and also to other lanes as well, because the changes that we can discuss here are not only in that mid lane, but the bottom lane got some changes. There are some bushes now that you do have to watch for, especially in my opinion on that red side. The red side aisles you do actually have to keep kind of in check, and for this lane matchup with the Zeri, with this Maokai, if they do, for whatever reason, decide to try and start being aggressive, try and start being annoying, Icarus may or may not have those angles if they're able to kind of cheat their way around.
And I think especially for Zeri on the red side bot lane, it's worth noting one of the tricks she used to be able to do was she used to skate over that massive wall, and very few champions are going to be able to follow you, or if they can, like Vi, with her ultimate, they're going to be deep inside enemy territory with no backup available. But because of the changes with the access into the red side bot lane, that wall isn't as long anymore. So for Zeri, that hop isn't as far. Other champions can try and keep up, especially Sivir on the hunt. You can literally run people down at that point. So for the side of SUNY and for Swaggerban and Trial by Fire users, specifically in this bot side, they have to be a bit more careful. The other thing they have to watch out for, though, is Pope, because Soraka into Maokai is an interesting matchup. I haven't seen that one in a hot minute, but in the past, one of the things is that Soraka outranges Maokai. And so the way the Maokai needs to play it is get bush control, and you're trying to actually poke down the Soraka while trying to make sure that she doesn't heal up. If you're trying to poke down Sivir, it really doesn't work. Between Spell Shield and healing, yeah, Groundhog's not going to die. Good luck. You're going to have to burn a lot, even with jungle ganks. If we're not seeing Little Garrett able to kind of kill the Sivir on his own, I don't really see Maokai being able to help out much. So that bot side really does feel like Sivir and Soraka have the safe lane they want, and it's pressure onto Ole Miss Red, onto Courtney. Pardon me, other way around, sorry. Groundhog and Courtney are going to be really, really safe. It pressures on Swaggerban and Trial by Fire user to be able to put pressure down with this sort of Maokai flex they picked so early on.
And that's another part that always kind of worries me. When you flex something so hard, I love flex picks, don't get me wrong. Flex picks are awesome in the drafting phase. They really do help. However, when a flex pick feels like it's forced into it, because obviously with flexes, there are first, second, third areas that you really enjoy it at. If this Maokai feels like it was forced into the support role for this team, that worries me. That's the only thing I am going to say. However, I understand support Maokai is great and everything, but if Trial by Fire is the one that's actually a little bit worried, I'll reserve my judgment for after the game. Either way, though, very interesting to watch in that mid to late, because we do have to be honest, we are feeling this game is going to go to that 25-30 minute time. So let's start looking a little bit further. Let's start deep diving into what we expect to see in that mid game, because I expect, global objectives are down, maybe a tower or two, 3 handful of dragons, maybe the Herald is taken as well. Where are we going to start seeing these explosive fights if the early game pans out as basic can be?
It's usually when your AD carries start to come online. You pick the Sivir, you pick the Zeri. These are champions that literally define your game. They are the win cons for both of these teams. So when they start getting items, 2, 3 items, 3 I think more reasonably is when you're going to start seeing them absolutely cut through the front lines. And that's when the games are going to hinge on a knife's edge orbital. And one of the fun things about these compositions that we don't see too much now of, so far at least in Season 14, was back in Season 13 when we were seeing a lot of Sivir, a lot of Jinx, a lot of Zeri. It kind of doesn't matter how far ahead you get. If you lose one big team fight late enough, the game's over. I mean, sure, the goal makes it harder to lose those fights, but they can still happen, especially around Baron. And since it's our first week back on ECAC here, Orbital, on patch 14, we should probably touch on Barons quickly as well. Of course, now there are 3 types of Baron. There's the hunting Baron, which is old Baron, the traditional Baron, That's what it calls down lightning strikes from the sky when you're attacking it. It doesn't actually affect that much. There's Territorial Baron, which is basically that spider from just a tree line reskinned into a Baron skin. It pulls you back in. But what's notable about Territorial is that they'll put a little wall in front of the pit. And that terrain means that there are 2 choke points at the Baron pit. Then there is All-Seeing Baron, which has that sort of like void summoning damage it does, as well as a corridor in front of it.
Yeah, that's the other side.
Yeah, the reason why I mentioned that, Orbital, is because all those choke points make this game actually really, really dangerous for both these teams. Because if you're in a corridor, it's just about wide enough for Ornhorn to occupy all of it plus a little bit more. So if you're in there, hey, Ole Miss is going to have a fun time trying to start those fights. If we get Territorial Baron, those 2 choke points, guess what fits right there? Orianna Shockwaves. So Ole Miss, they've got a lot of tools for these Baron team fights as well. On the hand, SUNY's not without tools with their own, of course. Nocturne turning off the lights has always been massive. And Maokai's ultimate as well takes up so much space that teams trying to Baron against Maokai struggle against that and the vision that he gives you the saplings. So, you know, we're talking about late game. I'm watching Barons for these two teams because I suspect that's where the games might be decided at.
That's the scary part as well. Anytime I hear that the Baron is going to be there, it means that, hey, the first 15-20 minutes, both teams might be a little bit, you know, lackadaisical. Just go ahead, chill out, wait around, hit that 20-minute mark. Let's go ahead and start team fighting. The thing is I do feel that weighs into a factor for Little Garrett. Nocturne that I see all the time, it wants to deal with things early on. It does not want to wait till mid game, doesn't want to wait till people start grouping up and are able to kind of body block. Like, that's the whole point. If you have Paranoia available, you want to split the team apart. If the team's already okay in a sense and you can already bottleneck, you know, 3 or 4 on top of each other, Lil Garrett's like, what can I do? I can sit there. So as much as we're talking about this mid to late game for the likes of SUNY as well as Ole Miss Red, I get it. I still want to see early aggression. I still want to see Lil Garrett getting out there and having a little bit of fun. Because if I see those paranoias and the first one happening at level freaking 10, I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna be very. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna name names. There was one player, maybe in my solo games, I don't know. There was someone that waited till 10 minutes before I saw paranoia. I don't want to see that happen. But we are gonna go ahead and get into games. So I want to ask final thoughts here, RMC. This is. By the way, this is our first time casting this year together, which is crazy to me. I get to ask you the fun question that I always like to ask. If you had to put chips down on one team or the other for game number 1, who would you put it on for this one?
Oh, that's always a tough one, Orbital. As much as you heard me harping on about the Ole Miss draft, which I like very much, I do think it's a great draft. It's hard to argue against reigning champions. So, you know what? I think having the experience to work together, having the entire starting roster, which just won the Rivals division, I think it's too big for SUNY here in this game 1. So I'm just going to give it to SUNY in game 1. And Ole Miss Red, hey, you know what? They're aware of it. They knew they're up against tough opponents. Maybe they've got some tricks in their back pocket, and maybe they proved me wrong, Orbital.
All right, I can agree with that one because I unfortunately think the same. SUNY, I love the idea of reigning champions saying our throne is not enough, and I respect that. Hey, my throne is not enough. I want another. I'm going to go chase it. I'm not going to wait for someone to come to me. I am going to go hunting, and they have fished themselves a pretty hefty shark. So for Ole Miss Red, for them, it's going to be an own question. How well can we come together? There is adaptation to be said across the entirety of the matches, right? There's always adaptability, whether it be in the entire season or in the series itself. There's a reason that we here love our best of 3s. We love to see those changes moving from game to game. Granted, there can also not be changes. I'm not sure. We will see. So I'll go ahead and also say SUNY Ole Miss Red are going to give it their best shots. But, you know, we'll see what happens. With that being said, though, I now get to ask, I know you talked about the fact that if First Blood comes down anywhere, it'll come with the junglers in hand. I want to ask you even a little bit further because all the lanes feel unkillable. Let's be honest. We mentioned it all the way at the start of our analysis. It's kind of fun. I got to ask you, where do you think First Blood is going to go? Do you think it's going to be in the lanes? And if so, which lane? Or is it going to be around one of those objectives? So I'll throw it to you. Grubs has seen way too much action for no freaking reason. By the way, my junglers just love yelling at me for not helping with Grubs. That's the only reason I say it.
Bro, Void Grubs are OP if you can get all 6 of them. Even 5. The Void
I
Mites,
like
man.
my farm. I like my farm. Leave me alone. I have, what is it, lethal efficiency? I'm like 5 games away from getting like my Grandmaster. I want my Grandmaster's token, okay?
Okay, spoken like a true Vigar man. Well,
hey! Anivia being over there.
Hey, Anivia roams after I push out my wave. Vigar just delayed. We are into game, Orbital, and to answer your question, you know what? I think it's not going to be Void Grubs. I think we're going to see First Blood in the top lane, and it's just going to be a straight-up brawl between Dinky and Man Ape. Like, maybe the junglers get involved, but I think they get a high fee first. Failing that, I think level 6 mid lane.
All right, level 6 mid lane, maybe that's it. Either that or it's top right now. It might be level freaking 1. Dinky throwing up a little bit of the question mark as he says, oh, that question mark is very much answered. SUNY saying, hey, we want to really show you what we're all about, giving a little bit of a taste of the Rivals moving up to the Elite Division. Very early invade, getting some vision down, and unfortunately, Ole Miss Red only able to counter, not fully invade on their own.
And I really like this coming through from SUNY. There is no downside to this invade right now. Ole Miss can't actually match them in terms of early game level 1 team fighting, and normally when you invade like that, what you're giving up is bot side prio. The fact that maybe Sivir and Soraka can sneak into a bush, get some poke down. But with a Maokai, especially if you're starting saplings first, you can just toss saplings in there. You don't have to worry about being ambushed, about eating that poke, and you don't have to worry about them trying to invade on Little Garrett either, because as we mentioned before, their level 1 isn't as strong, especially on this bot side.
Well, you definitely know where Icarus and Dinky are. This may or may not be one of the slower takes of the Lua. Bonk, 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 bonk. Hey, okay, we got the side. All right, we're done with that one. But no, you know, the Orin help is not exactly amazing, but it does show a lot of information, right? SUNY now understand Icarus will most likely be doing a full clear. Let's go ahead and maybe utilize that to our advantage. Topside though, a man ape-like saying, let's go ahead and get that tag damage early.
Yeah, and normally if it's a Mundo Orin, I'm not looking up top for action, right? Like that's two wet noodles going at it. I'm doing this because of name value right now. Over the fact that it is Manip like in the top side, the fact that I'm hoping Dinky and Icarus have that sort of connection between jungle and top, and right now I'm a little bit reconsidering that because Icarus starting on the top side means we're not going to see Dinky getting ganked. So if anything, it'll have to come from Manip like and Lil Garrett. Just kind of forcing it a little bit because Manip like is pushing up so far. Oh, it's actually pretty even. It bounced back. So Dinky pushing out does mean he's dangerous. They have to start warding that pixel bush. That makes top lane really hard to gank.
That one we also didn't get to discuss as well. The changes to the river brushes is always really interesting, right? It used to be really easy to access the spot side. You also see the river brush now evenly between the two lanes. That also causes a little bit of difficulty for some players. Topside also has a pixel, and it's a lot of fun to think about, right? These junglers, I forgot what it was, but there was a storm up on Twitter for a while ago. It was the fact that junglers feel like they're having it harder and harder, and everyone's just like, what are you talking about? Jungle's easy, and the junglers just like, shush, don't ever talk to us ever again. And it's just the greatest thing in the world that their whole pathing changes. It feels like every single season, or the gank pathing, if you will.
Yeah, you've got to be more calculated on how you want to do that. Topside especially gets a bit harder to gank just because of where the jungle kind of enters. And bot side, we see Icarus kind of sneaking in though, but look at those beautiful wards that came out from SUNY. Lane ganks are going to be so hard, and it's a bit of a psychological game, right? Because they didn't ward the pixel bush, but Ole Miss don't know that. Oh, there's a sapling in there.
Yeah, there is, and so Icarus is just
Good
like,
enough.
okay, yeah, that's going to be there. And Silence goes down early, but it's not going to... I mean, it was more just warding everyone off, so Icarus spotted out on the bot side. It is well understood. And for that, notice, Little Garrett looking for this top side if you can with that blast plant. Might be able to do something, but Dinky, I think, has a feeling here. I mean, they're going over the wall. Dinky has to realize this right now. Says, okay, there is a gank. That is going to be a miss on the briefcase, though, so Dinky at least doesn't get slowed down. That is going to be a charge forward. Does have the unstoppable bellow. No fear to really come through, and you are okay. However, Half Chunk does give flash out, though. We were watching and wondering, Icarus, with the re-gank, is able to grab a flash out.
Oh, went too far!
Advance, and that might have gone a little bit too far. Flash out by Icarus. Flash out by Trial by Fire. Massive move on the bot side. Ole Miss Red force a gank on the bot side and get a lot of somersaults for it.
Icarus might look for the re-gank if they can actually push out fast enough. Courtney has healing on the Soraka, so she can heal Icarus up. And Trial by Fire actually have to cancel the base to make sure that they don't get dove.
Oh, Icarus. I mean, listen, I know you got the gank off. I know you're happy about it.
He's fine, he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Zekrom is a man after my own heart. Don't worry about what's happening in the enemy jungle. Just stay on your wave. Just be happy about what's going on. Just keep your farm up. 40 CS, about 13 up. That is 2 waves over Clear Love.
Hey man, don't do Zekrom there. Zekrom was doing what a good mid laner needs to do. He was applying pressure and making sure that Clearlove couldn't respond and actually back up Icarus, which is why Icarus had to just disengage. And the whole attempt there, Orbital, does come with a cost. Because they knew where Icarus was, Lil Garrett just gets to clear that top side, gets that experience advantage, and as a Nocturne, you're fine with that. Power farming to 6 is a very viable strategy. Getting to steal away camps and still power farming to 6, even better.
And the fact of the matter is, you can also see that SUNY are more than practiced in controlling the lane states to their advantage, right? Man Ape like holding it down on this top side, saying, hey, I'm going to keep this wave exactly where I want it. I'm not worried, and Dinky is kind of at a loss for words here. You can see the CS differential starting to stack up, and we talked about the early game, right? We talked about how it might be a little bit quiet depending. Man Ape like might make it a little bit more difficult, but if we do watch this early game go by with nary a kill, the CS numbers are going to come into a very, very important factor. With this dance, though, it is going to be an exchange of blows. Icarus trying to get this dragon, but the global objective is actually going the way of Lil Garrett, currently on the grubs. Icarus realizing that you can't really fight this, and it's going to be a loss in tempo for Ole Miss Red.
Yeah, into the mid, and Clearlove actually had to flash away from these well-caused ultimate, and a lot of this pressure orbital was just coming from this mid lane. You're talking about a top lane differential. Mid lane, Zekrom was kind of doing the same, even doing more, actually. It's only just that Manape has created a bigger CS lead, and because of that, Icarus can't go for these objectives, even knowing that Little Garrett was topside. I think they had a ward, because the ping came down as soon as the Void Grubs was started.
And with that ping, now we gotta watch because of all those movements. Now Ole Miss Red trying to get control over their own jungle side. Inside of the jungle, though, Logar is ready. Level advantage on top. This could be a dangerous fight. Already catching Icarus. In comes the Ornhorn, but it's a little bit late. Icarus can't really do anything. Double knockup, though, might have saved him. Icarus is out. Icarus is safe. Now Clearlove coming over the side, level 6, and this might be a little bit too far for them. Logar has to be a little bit worried. Icarus getting ready to get some help. Zekrom coming in, but only about a quarter of the mana bar. No shockwave just yet. Clearlove, though, getting flashed on, and that is going to be the danger. First blood for Little Garrett.
I salute you, Clearlove. They did what they could, right? They had to rotate into the jungle first. The problem is just that they're kind of a bit far behind, and we're seeing that sort of top lane differential come into play. Great shield from Lil Garrett as well to nullify what Dinky was trying to bring to the table. And right now, Ole Miss, the lesson they need to take from that right now is we cannot fight on this top side. We are weaker there, and that's not our top side jungle anymore. That's Lil Garrett's jungle.
Lil Garrett is all in control. Also level 6. One of the first to hit it here very quickly on. Icarus still going to have to try and find some camps. Is on the bot side, but I'm very, very interested. Clearlove with that rotate. It shows the willingness to scrap as well for Ole Miss Red. And yeah, this is level 6 setting up here. Question marks abound, though. Man Ape saying, I am low, but I don't have the ult, and might be trying to bait things out. Lil Garrett is right around the corner. Yeah, Man Ape is trying to bait this as hard as possible. I don't think Dinky's going to fall for it, though.
Yeah, well played, everybody. Dinky kind of knew something was up, so, you know what, and probably would have been able to survive if Man Ape likes someone engaging. Courtney, what happened down there? Was it just from healing, from poke? I don't know, but that's left Groundhog solo.
That's going to be a problem. Running away with Ghost, and you're safe. I think they might have stepped up a little bit too far either way, though. Oh no, the sapling! Courtney, no, that feels so bad, but heads up play by Trial by Fire. Second kill of the game goes to the sapling.
Supportal combat as well. Unassisted orbital. Trial by Fire gets the solo kill. Now into the mid lane, Icarus, level 6, looking for some action to happen.
A little bit of a force here. Shockwave lands as well, but that is going to be the paranoia coming down.
Lights are out.
You are low with no flash. Easy kill for Garrett. Not only that, Icarus got nothing. The laser is just too good. Double kill for Little Garrett. Zekrom with the assist.
Okay, well, and this is where things get really, really tough. Because remember when we were talking in draft, we said before, Ole Miss, great comp if you can get to the late. We are just shy of 10 minutes in right now and almost a 4K gold advantage for SUNY, which is about to accelerate. Lil Garrett has been doing a great job. We're starting to see Man Ape apply pressure as well. And now, to me, the key to the ignition, Trial by Fire starting to roam. Once we see that Maokai roaming, that's how I think SUNY really start to push the pace of this game.
And it's scary, right? The idea that level 6s are being hit, and Courtney now getting jumped on as well. Can you get knocked over the wall? Not going to happen, but it is enough. You have no flash, you only have a sauce. You don't really want to burn it there. So Freebie on the kill, puts it at 5-0. Dragon behind as well. SUNY have had control of the entirety of the map and have not even lost a plate.
Nope, 3 Void Grubs. You got Dragon as well, albeit a bit of a later Dragon. And for Ole Miss, I'm still not quite certain what they can really do at this point, because Icarus wants to play aggressively on this Vi. You want to get ganks down. It hasn't happened yet, but you don't have a lane you can really go to. You can see the gold differentials on your screen right now. The best lane for you to gank is probably the bot side. That has the smallest gold difference. But even then, Orbital, it's Sivir Soraka. And I'm sorry, Sivir, until she gets 2 items, is just not going to be able to fight.
It's one of those. You're picking the weakest of 2 sides, and you opted for the third option, but the third option is not one that you actually wanted. you can't do this, right? Icarus is trying, and we have to put emphasis on that. They are trying their hardest to do something, but there is a point in the game where things just start to get a little bit out of control, and for those that are new here in 2024, that's what we call snowballing.
The snowball's been going on a long time, but overall, yeah, I agree. Season 14 feels like it's been more than usual in terms of snowballing. One interesting thing to note, hold up, Clear Love. Oh, okay.
Good, really good preemptive flash, by the way. I give a lot of credit there because that flash to follow from Trial by Fire was dangerous.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit scared of what's happening there. I want to talk about Icarus's build path in terms of...
No, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to.
Moving.
You're not allowed to, RMC. This is another gank in the top side. Even with the paranoia. Oh my god.
Is it necessary?
Anger from around. Little Garrett comes in for the easiest kill this game.
Okay, now there's an opportunity here for Ole Miss. Because Trial by Fire and Lil Garrett both roamed up top. You can see Swagabon's low, and guess who's nearby?
All right, Slagaba. You might have this one. However, over the wall they go, and you can't flash away from the assault and batter. Icarus finally finds a kill. Well played there. They're now going to start chipping away on the spot side tower, but isn't enough to offset. I mean, not really, but you're doing what you can with it.
I mean, maybe they can. Oh, but it's mid lane that's going to go down first.
Oh, man, I didn't even see that. Holy.
Yeah, that dive. And Clearlove didn't use TP to try and get back into lane topside. What is this?
Oh my gosh. SUNY said, cool, you take our ADC, but this game, the ADC is just BAIT. Top lane is where we want to go. Little Garrett is unstoppable, and then some. As Ole Miss Red, for all their troubles, they have a kill and 3 plates. Not even a 4th.
Oh dear, salt into the wound overall. Like, I think it's bad enough that they didn't get the turret, but as you said, they couldn't even get that last little bit of plating. There's 1 minute left, and this time Trial by Fire is starting to roam back down into the bot lane. I don't think Courtney and Groundhog, they can't afford to push up to get it. So SUNY, they are ahead of tempo because of the leads they had. They are snowballing so incredibly well, Orbital, and this shows why they won their division last time. This is a team that knows how to win. Once they get those leads, they just keep going.
And the scary part as well, Lil Garrett has spent so much time focused on this top side that now if you even look at the bot lane, Courtney and Groundhog are going to be like, bro, why are we having a 5-0 Nocturne suddenly joining our lane? That is going to be the rudest awakening I've ever seen to the current game state. So right now, Ole Miss Red understand they are having a rough time. So what can they do? Right now, watch as their bot side is getting taken. By the way, Clearlove is waiting off inside of the top side jungle because you can't go to the top lane to farm. That is such a feels bad moment. Clearlove finally going and realizing there's a reason I stayed away from here. This is brutality.
Well, good read from Clearlove, and I think Zekrom jumping the gun a little bit there to reveal himself, and Clearlove going to be able to get out of life. Now, Dinky trying the reverse gank here. Zekrom doesn't know.
All right, Zekrom, you do have the flash and the barrier.
There we
go. You really can't do much. And this is what Icarus wants to do. We talked about the fact that, hey, you don't really have that many options, and this is one of them. You just force that fight. That is what Fi does best. Man-Ape, like running for their life, does have Ghost, but do you really want to use it? You know the assault battery is down, or you know the ult is down. And I think you might be able to walk away from this one just trying to save over the wall. Trial by Fire is going to help out, but the region is just too good. Oh, Man-Ape Like is going to try and turn it around. In comes the revenge fight. In comes the brutality. Paranoia says, give me a 6. Are you going to get a 7? Lil Garrett wants it. Lil Garrett wants a 7. Icarus flashes away, but the double knockup keeps him at bay. Are they going to be able to turn it around? Maybe they can. It's going to be a kill over Icarus. A second, possibly a third. They are so low. Man-Ape Like says, maybe we overstepped. Dinky says, yes, you did. That chase is going to be real. Another knockup lands. The Bellows Breath lands it, and it is going to be a turnaround at 3 in the top lane.
The tank, mage, assassin, bruiser, carry Orbital. Orin does percent health damage, so it doesn't matter how tanky you get. That's why Orin into Mundo isn't that bad a matchup, and huge for Dinky to be able to find that. SUNY, I think, overplaying their hand as well a little bit. Like, hey, once you got clear live, it should have been just done and dusted. They should have backed up. They got greedy. They wanted more. It backfired. And while all this was happening, let's not forget, Groundhog finds that bot lane turret as well. And with the gold lead SUNY had, there was a bounty on taking those turrets. So Ole Miss closing the gap significantly, but it's still almost a 4K gold deficit.
It's scary to think about, but right now they're going to try and do a little bit more. Good tether to keep their junglers safe as Ole Miss Red realize Icarus is in a rough spot. However, they can charge back up there. First one's here. Courtney, though, has to flash away, but flashes straight into danger. Yes, you get the Nocturne down, but the rest of the team is in danger. Man, like says I got a chance, but the Shockwave draws him right back in. Big danger on the horizon as SUNY realize they're kind of caught out here.
Coming.
Swagaban's trying their best to run up, but Man Black says, don't worry, I got this. The businessman goes where he pleases, acquisitioning all of the assets. Dinky on the back line can't do much more. As under the tower you go, man. Like sends them to death.
And Ole Miss as a team, Orbital flew too close to the sun, but unlike the myth, Icarus actually survives as one. The lone survivor backs out in a bush under their noses. But Orbital, this is the GOAT differential come into play. Yes, it looked really good for Ole Miss initially, but let's not forget SUNY was not in position. Though Garrett got caught out, Swagaban was not in the area, and Ole Miss, they played that so well. If they had a bit more gold, a bit more damage, maybe they get out even. But because of that, they're behind. They lose Dragon as well. Unless Icarus can steal this, there's no vision. Is Icarus even gonna try?
I mean, I think you saw him on the tail end there, but you gotta fight the enemy top laner, right? And look at that, Man Light just shreds through Icarus's HP. The Heart Seal currently stacking up at 236. Feels good, man, there. Second Dragon is down, and RMC, we gotta talk about the newly minted Infernal Dragon, dropping the feathers everywhere. Or the cinders, if you wish.
Yeah, little pieces of bonuses you can pick up, and when people die, they drop them. So, in a way, it's kind of rough, but an opportunity for Ole Miss. It's rough because SUNY is going to obviously accelerate the game, pick up all these cinders when they're ahead. It's easier for them to cover the ground, pick up the cinders. But on the other hand, if Ole Miss can kill them, it means more. You take away more stacks, and you get to pick up the cinders that they drop when they die as well. So, high risk, high reward, Orbital, and Ole Miss, well, that's been the game plan all along since they fell behind in the early game.
It really has. Like, you're gambling on borrowed time right now. And Lil Garrett says, I'm back. Dinky says, please, no, please stop.
Maybe?
The rest of the team now coming to help out. And maybe this is the repeat of earlier on. Deja vu for Lil Garrett. You're caught. Double knockup lands perfectly. Trial by Fire is dead. But the lasers are just too good. In comes Swagaban and Zekrim to save the day, avenging their top lane counterparts.
Top lane is a trap right now.
It really is.
For both sides, like Dinky was overextended. Or was he? Because Ole Miss collapsed beautifully on that. That was a great rotate from Icarus and Clearlook. But then the trap got turned when they tried to kill Man Ape Light, because something was just like, oh, top lane's a trap. You can't kill the Mundo fast enough. And then Swagaban just came in, cleaned house as well. So SUNY right now still ahead despite all these trades. Bot side as well. Man Ape Light was able to put down a ton of pressure. And unfortunately, Groundhog and Courtney, they're not at the point where they can kill this mega attack.
I mean, Man Ape Light has had a very nice game so far, building up to that strength and power. And I mean, it's going to be dangerous. For right now, though, we are looking at the current present. SUNY is going to grab that Herald, which is so much fun. I want to see where it's driven. I'm always kind of interested in seeing it. It's just funny to see, but that is going to be a little bit of paranoia going down. A solo ult, one of the first that we've seen so far, is Clearlove. It's just annihilated now. Lil Garrett under the tower is going to eat a couple tower shots, but the rest of the team keeps him alive. TP coming in as Dinky realizes he can't really help out. That was such an aggressive ult, but it worked.
I mean, Lil Garrett's 8-3-2. He's so accelerated. And unfortunately, Clearlove is a little bit behind the curve as well. Stairs Embrace only completed recently. Groundhog.
The burn is just too good. Final W kills him off. And the man on a mission to learn just about everything. The Vel'Koz shredding him down.
Well, Vel'Koz just learned how much damage it takes to kill the AD carry. And it's not very much. Courtney in trouble.
No,
Courtney's
not
dead.
again. Not again. Not again. Zekrim on a rampage.
Zekrim's learning. Vel'Koz is just learning how to kill more and more people. It's getting really scary. Oh, bro, I do want to quickly try and take an opportunity of this time right now to talk about Icarus.
Nope, not allowed. Not allowed.
Icarus will be able to find this kill.
Yeah, Icarus
Wait,
fight. Icarus fight. How goes the tether? Trial by fire.
No shot.
Minute like
there we go.
That's gonna be the punch. You got it. But now it's a chance. Again, it's a bait. All the bait is on the bot side this time. Icarus flashing away. One more hit can do it, and the briefcase makes an appearance. It is whacking people on the back of the head. It's actually just a toolbox. What a brutal showing here. Under the tower they go. Under the inhibitor, if you will. will. Swagamon swagging on a one more auto can do it, even through the wish. Not a chance to save. The wish turns into a nightmare as Swagamon watches as Courtney lives on one. Over the inhibitor you go, and it's an ace for SUNY Canton.
If you can dodge a briefcase overall, you can dodge a ball, but you can't dodge bullets, apparently. He's very able to clean that one up. That's kind of rough to see, and from here on out, SUNY's just going to close this out. Icarus back up again. Now, Icarus, I keep wanting to talk about him because he can actually still kill people. Right? We've seen Icarus kill Lil Garrett, and he can kill Zekrom and Swagaban. One thing he did, the input build doesn't work. Zekrom's not out.
You can't drift like a Scion, I'm sorry. It's just not possible. Zekrom will fall here just because they give it to you. Alright, they did give it to Kaleb. So back to what you were saying.
So, what Icarus did was early on in the game actually built lethality. And so is now sitting on Eclipse and Ghostblade. And that's why we're seeing Icarus actually able to still kill people. And when you're behind, building damage is a viable way to get back in the game. That's how they've been finding their picks. The problem is, a lot of these fights now are not the isolated picks that Icarus was able to use to try and even out the game. SUNY has started grouping up. There's not enough objectives to pull them apart, and the one who's split pushing is often man-abling. The one person who this lethality really can't kill.
It's just painful. It's just painful. Icarus trying to do their best, trying to find those moments for themselves. But Dinky says, hey, maybe we can fight this tank once again, but Paranoia goes down in this top lane 2v2. It may not be the early game, but the mid game's just all the same. Double knockup will only delay the slow as Dinky, you don't really have an out. It will be the 25th and 26th kill for SUNY Canton as they rule this upper side of the map.
And they just need to push in and close out right now. Those are the two tanks, or not even a tank, since we were just mentioned Icarus built lethality.
Oh, no.
Just getting run down. You can't run from this.
Got eaten up by a briefcase, and there's nowhere else to run. Shockwave just too late.
Groundhog, you don't
maybe
want
he can
this?
shred through, maybe he can help out, but not a chance. The rest of the team just eats him up for dinner. The campfire s'mores are out, roasting over the burning buildings. That is an ace once again as Icarus just comes up. But I don't think it's going to matter. This will be GG for game number 1. SUNY, those moving up in the standings, say thank you very much. We deserve to be here.
Well, the winter break orbital has not slowed SUNY's cooperation down at all. They are right back into it, and they don't miss a beat with how clean that was as well. Beautiful to watch, strong laning, and they knew how to snowball that. We said, once we start seeing the Maokai start roaming, that's kind of the signal that's game over, and you saw how clean the team was with those rotations.
It was just too good, and I am impressed, I would say, for how the early game came down. For the early game, it was slower than I expected, considering the kills that occurred for SUNY. Icarus did the best that they could. We saw a force in the mid lane, which, honestly, I attribute the reason that Zekrom did not die early to the fact that you ran barrier. That is such a heads up. You knew that was probably going to happen. It was a lot more defensive summoner, so if that was spotted, maybe there could have been a change. But Icarus did what Icarus should have done. It's just a little bit, a little bit too far of a gap there.
Yeah, and I think for Ole Miss Red, it's hard to necessarily see how good the players individually were with the drop that they had, right? Because we mentioned before, that drop did have a bit of a weak early game. And unfortunately, SUNY just really was able to take advantage of that. But individually, I think Dinky and Icarus stood out to me a little bit more, maybe because of the champions. Orin does have a bit more agency in that top side because he does % health damage, because he trades well early. And of course, the Vi that Icarus was piloting around tried to make action happen. So if those are your bright spots for this team, and maybe they're not, it's only one game, it's not a huge sample size, then maybe put Dinky on something with a little bit more carry potential. I know he's not really a top laner, he's kind of role swapped up there and learning the role, but I know that he does play Aatrox, for example, and I feel like if you get a couple of kills under Aatrox belts, if Aatrox was the one to pick up that double kill up in that top side, maybe he could have been able to have more impact, right, compared to the Orin, where he's doing his job by engaging and just surviving.
Yeah. I mean, for how much they fought, it kind of worked. Rest of the team hoping to step up as well. There were some shining moments. Right now, SUNY's shown way brighter. We'll see if they can continue that into the next, because their crown just needs a little bit more polishing to get their first 2-0 victory here in the season. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We are back, ready to go. That was an exciting game one to kick things off. Top lane had an explosive amount of power, and SUNY coming in, showing off, saying, hey, again, and this is why we talk about it, a reigning champion in their division last year said we now have to move up, and they are showing off.
Yeah, no, but I'm actually really impressed. Not with just the top lane, because I was kind of prepped even by their coach saying that, hey, you know, watch our top lane a little bit. He likes to play aggressive, but the entire team with how cohesive it was, because it wasn't one player taking over the game. It was kind of like small leads running together, being connected very, very well, and just snowballing from there. If anything, I'm very impressed with Lil Garrett and Trial by Fire User. The two of them were, I think, the spark that really lit the flame come the mid game. And going into game 2, Orbital, that makes it hard for Ole Miss Red, because it's not like one player we can say, okay, just camp this person and we're good to go. No. Now it's like, okay, there's a lot of little moving parts here. I think step one for Ole Miss Red is finding a lane that can get a lead.
And sometimes that comes in the fact of oversteps. There was like two very small glimmers of light that I will give to the side of Ole Miss Red, which was there were points that SUNY did overstep. We saw the top side. There were a couple fights that just went a little bit too far, and maybe you can catch him out on that. Hey, if it's going a little bit too easy, you bait him into some bad fights and you get the wins. Obviously, it's a very far off piece. Any sort of win condition that banks on the opponent doing well, I don't really give a lot of credence to, but hey, there are small glimmers, and I like to hang on to the small glimmers going into game number 2. RMC, looking at Ole Miss Red, what are some things that, you know, even though we talk about what we want to see, what do we not want to see? I'm kind of curious on things that we want to avoid going into this game.
I think you can't afford to draft all losing lanes, or at least no sort of early game pressure aside from the jungle. Because I feel really bad for Icarus. Icarus wanted to make things happen with the Vi, but I think we mentioned it about, 9 minutes in, that where is Icarus looking, or where can Icarus look to kick off action? If all your lanes are losing at that point and none of them are particularly strong early, then as a Vi, as a jungler, the best you can do is just kind of counter your jungle and maybe look for an invade and sneak away camps. We're into picks and bans in Orbital. Ole Miss has opted for the red side this time, so they won't have that power pick first pick, which frankly, if you're first picking Silver, maybe you don't need it as much. I think the counter pick becomes a lot more valuable if that's the way you want to draft.
I can agree with that one, and also a good ban to come out here. A lot of respect thrown over to Zekrom. Zekrom had one of the more powerful just presences in the mid lane, maybe not so oppressive, but enough to draw ire from the opponent, right? The early game fight at level 6 that happened with Icarus, very nice denial. Right now, though, looking at some other bans here, it is a Trundle Hover. I don't really trust that one, of course, but it is locked in a ban. Looking at Dinky or Icarus, taking away that counter pick option.
That's really interesting, because I think Trundle is actually quite strong in the current meta, especially into tankier champions like Xin Zhao, or champions that can inflate their stats that way. So perhaps they're taking it, trying to say, okay, Dinky, we're not going to let you pick a tank, and also a protection against a potential... or maybe they want to pay a Xin Zhao themselves, because Lil Garrett does play a lot of that. So taking that Trundle off the table early, it feels like a setup.
And looking at that, though, again, for Groundhog, the most respect that you can have. Just taking away that carry, just taking away the vein, say, hey, we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to let that one through. However, Ole Miss Red, this is something that we do see from teams that are starting out. I say starting out, but it's ones that you're not very strong on the meta. You just ban what worked last game. 3 bans targeted at 3 moving components that were very strong from SUNY in game number 1. We are going to see what may or may not be a new draft, at least of the 4 of 5, because Maokai is currently hovered, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's locked in.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Lux first pick. We talked a little bit about that in the first draft, being such a high prio pick between Zekrom and Courtney. But I think the Maokai is a better pick because of the flex options that you can kind of boot around. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up locking the Lux here for Ole Miss if they want to. It is by far and away Courtney's most played champion. I think Lux has a very different pattern of play as well. She can kind of snipe people from super long range. Nico's interesting, because if it's Nico, I think it's support Nico as well for Courtney. Lux, Nico, Sona, those are her most played support champions. So the Nico, a bit of a flex for now, but I'm leaning towards support.
if it is, hey, that can be also a little bit messy. SUNY better start counting those minions as fast as possible. I have seen some trickery, by the way, which is really, really funny. You go ahead, smite away one of the minions, and you take their spot, which I think is really funny. But that is a tech you can only use 3 times. Please don't actually run smite on Nico. That is a minion dematerializer is what I was thinking of. Graves is currently taking a look here, moving in here, picked up for Ole Miss. So a little bit more agency as well for Icarus, but definitely don't have that engage tool. Ooh.
That's why I think I like Icarus on this Graves. Graves a lot more self-agency. You don't need your lanes to come to you. You make action happen on your own. And Graves in a way can fake out a winning lane. Even if the lane's not that strong early, Graves can very often turn that, especially into the likes of a Kayn as well. Kayn, not that strong an early jungler. Very mobile champion, sure, but until he actually evolves into either his blue or red form, he's not fully online. So SUNY, it feels like they're kind of saying, you know what, we have... Our read of you from game 1 is that we can get away with a bit of a weaker early game and go for that scaling instead.
Yeah, and the fact that they actually just tweaked Kayn as well, I think they just nerfed a little bit of how quickly he gets the orbs, so maybe not as fast as most Kayn mains are expecting, but the Aphelios just came out for Swagabon, and that'll be a fun one as well, because the other champion that was banned away in game number 1 by the side of SUNY Canton is actually going to be that hover and possible lock-in of the Silas. However, the ults and opportunities this time around, I'm not sure it warrants okay, they're going to go for it.
Okay.
It doesn't feel as powerful as the other game would have had.
And I'm a bit worried as well, bro, because I'm assuming that's a Silas mid and not a Silas support, which is weirder than a Nico support, but I have seen it. And that does mean that you can get counterpicked, potentially, in the mid lane. And Silas does have some bad matchups, unfortunately, especially into ranged champions. You can bully him in the early game. Now, maybe you're relying on the Graves to be able to equalize that. We'll have to see if that pans out. I do think it's a big risk for Clearlove to be taking, and I hope it works out for them. And now for both of these teams, it looks like we're looking for the bot lane, the AD carry, and the top lane for Ole Miss. And for SUNY, we're looking for support and top side. Still not really seeing that the top side bans. In last game, let's not forget, I don't think there was a single top lane ban that came through. No, there was a Cassante ban, sorry, in the first phase, and that was it. Beyond that, top lane was just free and easy.
It was a complete reversal, right? We had four in the second phase of mid lane bans, 5 if you counted the earlier Lux ban. There was just some craziness going on. Very, very silly. 4 right now, though. ADC ban away the Ezreal, I think, is very appropriate. Ole Miss Red can use that as a safety escape. However, the Seraphine coming out here is another one that I do appreciate being hovered. If it is banned, that'll be another throw into the mid support role that, of course, the Nico, as we were talking about, could have trouble against. So I like Ole Miss Red's ideas here, saying, hey, let's go ahead, start covering. We already have counterpick for one of our main priorities, which is still top lane. Man, Ape, Like, and Dinky. I'm still interested to see what they can do. The Ornn was not that big of a deal, I don't think. And I mean, if they do, that's just saying, hey, we want to see what else can be played.
So I'm actually a little bit puzzled by Ole Miss with the... Okay, actually, no, that makes sense. Thinking Lux and Seraphine is supports, but no, Zekrom plays both of the mid lane. So they're actually trying to stop those picks from going into the mid lane to set up the Kayn, to set up the Aphelios. And Ole Miss with the AD carry pick makes sense. You already know what the Aphelios is, and you want to save that counter pick for top side. That's why you went on the red side. They've got the Xayah, strong team fighting champion, a very safe champion as well, and I like it into what SUNY have so far. There's no Vi there to be able to go in. Or actually, Vi gets countered by the Xayah. There's nobody to really go in and be able to punish that Xayah necessarily. Maokai, Kayn, they take a bit of time. You can stop them. So SUNY, what support do they want to drop here? Or oh, it's Maokai support. And then Kayn jungle. So this is going to be Volibear top for Matt Ape, like his most played champion this split.
I was kind of waiting to see if that would still come out somewhere, because I was just like, I'll just leave it alone. We'll see what happens here. Not like I totally forgot about Maokai support as well, because we literally saw it game 1. But this is the other side of it. The Volibear coming in, it is, if you're good at it, a solid play around that hover there. I mean, they're messing with me at this point. I talked about Hui, I talked about a very big enjoyer of it. It's not, it's not coming out here right now. The Malzahar is locked in, though. This is going to be a good way to slow down and temper that mid lane. You give an easy route in for the likes of little Garrett. Ole Miss Red now have to find a top lane situation.
Okay, so you're going to be playing into a Volibear. And, okay, Jax is an interesting matchup into Volibear. One of the things that Volibear top was very good at is that he's a lane bully. And he's got mixed damage. He's actually more magic damage than he is physical damage, despite the fact that he's going to want to claw your face off, and you'd think that Bear does physical damage. So picking a Jax here is particularly interesting to me. Jax not necessarily the best against casters, whether it be physical or magic damage. The biggest strong point of Jax is Counter Strike, the fact that you can ignore auto attacks from coming through. So this pick for me from Dinky, you're not picking the Jax to win the lane. You're picking the Jax to skill up and be that late game threat, like the Silas, like the Zaya and Orbital. You asked me what I wanted to see from Ole Miss. I told you, I don't want to see all skilling lanes, but it's kind of looking like that. Yes, Icarus has Graves. Yes, he can do more with the Graves than he could with the Vi, but still, this is a little bit scary for me to see.
I will say there's a bit more CC in the lanes this time around, even though it is scaling. Last game, it was a lot more just safety netting, right? You look at the Orianna, it doesn't really have like great CC. You look at the bot lane, I mean, yes, the Sivir has damage, but I mean, a Soraka is just like, eh. But to me, whenever we look at the opportunities given to some of these junglers, you don't just need the damage, you need the way to hold them down. So I do appreciate you got the Nico tether, you have a little bit extra, you have the Counter Strike to work with, the Silas abduction abscond or something, or I don't know the name, I forgot it. It's the grab. You have a little bit extra in the backhand, so I do appreciate it. I do agree, we still don't like the fact that there's not that much damage, so I'm gonna be waiting to see if this lane kind of works out, if this game works, because for Ole Miss Red, I still think it's experimental. This is still a squad that at the end of the day was made just very recently for this league.
Yeah, and that's it. I still like their draft in terms of what it can accomplish in the mid to late game. My only concern, of course, was the early game we mentioned. So let's touch about why I like their draft, because it's strong team fighting. Jax is actually really strong as a team fighter. The AoE from that Counter-Strike is massive, not to mention his ultimate ability gives him more resistances the more people nearby, so he likes to jump into those 5-man fights. Silas being able to steal away ultimates. There's still the Maokai ultimate to steal, and Malzahar is great for a single pick if you want to pick that. He does outscale and will have that sort of split push pressure that I'm not seeing SUNY be able to match. And in lane, as much as I complain about how their early game is not that strong, Nico's base numbers are really high, so there's pressure on Courtney to be able to perform on this Nico. You can poke out the Maokai potentially, and Maokai will have a hard time engaging to Nico at level 6 as well. The Pop Blossom is going to make melee champions think twice about getting in range of you. So Kane, Maokai, you've got to time your spells right to dodge the Pop Blossom. If you don't, and you get locked down by that, there is a world in which you just get CC chained to death, and Zaya just keeps pew-pewing you the entire time.
Well, not exactly pew-pew, it's more like throw as many as you can. Right now, though, on the other side, SUNY Canton feels like they've gotten a lot of comfort champions coming out here. You look at that Volibear, it's perfect. Lil Garrett literally allowed to phase through walls just to cut you off. Mid lane, Zekrim saying, hey, I'm going to sit you down and say you got to stay right there. And in the bot side, paired with the Maokai, last time it was that Zeri. This time, way stronger. We're talking about the Aphelios, the 200-year champ that now feels like they're getting a lot more value here in the season 14. I mean, this is a team that, as much as we're giving a lot of value to Ole Miss Red, I mean, SUNY have gotten a great composition as well. Yeah, and if you're talking about comfort as well, I think there's something to be said for comfort, especially early on in a season when teams are kind of finding their footing. Not that I think SUNY needs to find it. We saw in game one, they're already really coordinated. Their team fighting is going to be a little bit weaker. They're not as cohesive for the team fight. But if you get a big enough lead, it doesn't matter. And what they do have is a lot of advantages in their individual lanes. We touched on the Volibear Jax matchup. Let's touch on Malzahar versus Silas as well, because we mentioned before, Silas does have some bad range matchups. You can get poked out. And in solo queue, I know some people like to pick Silas into Malzahar so you can steal away the Malefic Visions. But what you need to remember is Malefic Visions is so strong because of the rest of the kit. While you're suppressing the opponent, you yourself are suppressed. So if Clearlove is suppressing Zekrom, Clearlove can't do any other damage. You're just doing the percentage health damage from that ultimate. Whereas if Zekrom outs Clearlove, you've got your little Voidlings, you've got the Malefic Visions kind of ticking as well with that Nether Grasp. So there's a lot more damage to come out from that Malzahar, and it still boils down to your team, right? Like that ult later on is going to be setting up picks for other people to be able to capitalize on. So early on, I do think that the top and mid lanes coming through from SUNY, they're going to have clear leads, and Lil Garrett can take advantage of that, try and farm up those orbs as fast as possible. I'm curious to watch that as well. We did not see as much fighting, in the early stages, but as you were saying, this this pick, the Kane invites aggression, like just all the time. That's what you want to do. So it's going to be more forced. So I do love the fact that you pointed it out. I'm excited to watch and see how it goes as we're getting underway with the game. Let's get into it. SUNY last time invaded on the top side from red, said, hey, we're going to go ahead and look in. This time on the lower side. Let's go ahead and fight. And the teams are ready to buck as well. The problem, there's a lag with Courtney. Courtney is not with the rest of the team, and Garrett is moving up. Dinky walking very far forward. I am very surprised they were willing to get within auto attack range to fight. A little bit of a Q in. A root goes down, but little Garrett really only going to take a bit of damage. Icarus realizing they're in trouble. Clear love. I'm not sure you want to go in. Counter-strike is going to be fun. 4-man stun. Little Garrett has to run away. Is able to flash away for safety, but Clear Love is chasing as fast as possible. The rest of the team is trying to help out, but Miss Red may have gone a little bit too far, and first blood goes away as Zekrom. The fight is still kicking off now as thunder rains from the sky. Dinky eats the damage, and Trial by Fire is on fire with only 50 HP. With all the damage that has been done and how many summer spells have been made, the only death comes from Clear Love, but against your lane opponent, it feels so bad.
It might be a Trial by Fire orbital, but that Maokai, Trial by Fire user, came out gold at the end of it. I thought he was going to go down with those shots into his back, but he knew exactly how much he could take. And the fact that SUNY won this is critical. The kill goes over to Zekrom. That's actually massive for this Malzahar. You get XP lead in a potentially bullyable lane. Huge. But I want to say for Ole Miss, that was the right call. I actually don't like the fact that SUNY was looking for that level 1 coin flip. I don't think they're stronger at that level 1. No. And that's why we saw Dinky step up. That huge Counter-Strike was massive, and that should have spelled the end of the fight. Unfortunately, Ole Miss just got a little bit split up with who's going for it, who's going back, and Clear Love going for that kill. Didn't have the backup. Dinky wasn't with them. Icarus wasn't with them. If not, that could very well have gone Ole Miss's way.
I agree. Looking back at it, I agree 100%, and there is now danger in the future. A little bit of lightning coming down on the top side, and this is something that's kind of fun, right? Seeing Manape like and Dinky setting up for a little bit of different trades. The HP values that are lost are vastly different than the tanks that we saw earlier, right? 50%, 40% left, and you're looking at kill threat, depending on how the matchup breaks out. So I'm very curious to watch how that goes down. Mid lane already being bullied out. Zekrom opted to go with a little bit more damage instead. A major value, but that's going to be a jump underneath the tether. And remember, Courtney doesn't really have anything in back pocket. Had to burn the flash right there, but no heal. Well played. Trial by Fire and Swagaben getting a lot of pressure in this bot lane.
So remember, Orbital, when I said earlier, the timing of Lil Garrett and Trial by Fire has to be really good to dodge that Pop Blossom. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's exactly why you saw. You can dodge out some of those skill shots or some of those abilities if you time it right. And right there, Trial by Fire already in lane, warming up his hands, dodged out the root, got the perfect engage onto Courtney. And, you know, with that flash down now, the Nico a lot more vulnerable. Courtney has to think twice every time she wants to step up and actually land some poke.
That'll be interesting to watch. We'll have to see how it pans out a little bit further, as our attention is actually drawn towards this top side. Icarus, I believe, seeing a little bit of that Humble Trespass, or not the Humble Trespass, the walking through the walls here. Lil Garrett saying, okay. See, we're going to fight over the Scuttle here. Double buff on both. No real damage on Icarus, though, so Zekrom and the rest are rotating over. This is going to be a duel in the mid lane. Clear Love down to about 3/4. Not sure you can really fight for this. Top lane hasn't moved at all, so it's really just kind of a show of pressure. Lil Garrett gets tethered up. This might be dead, and it is! Clear Love eats him up. And SUNY, this fight seemed awkward, and it is Ole Miss Red get the kill.
Yeah, and now Clear Love, remember, no flash. Mana Ape, has flash available, so there is kill threat from this volleyball. Icarus here.
There it is. Okay, I was wondering where the counter is, and they're going to die. Oh, that's a little bit too far.
Too deep.
Man Ape likes this. Thank you very much. Get onto the tower. I'm not sure you're going to get it. Icarus has to walk away for the kill that happens in the jungle. Man Ape takes it back.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Dinky jumps the gun a little bit too early. Bot side, we are seeing the fight as well, but no red-white, so damage into Groundhog's back, but no kill. And back and forth. Orbital, let's start with what happened in the mid lane. Because that, to me, was surprising. Lil Garrett, we touched the fact that Kane's not that strong early. Guess who is? Graves. We literally said Graves can salvage bad losing lanes because he's so strong. And unfortunately, Malzahar, not that strong early. And also, Zekrom was running out of mana. So I'm really surprised they opted for that 2v2. It backfired, and they were saved by the fact that Ole Miss went for that dive topside.
That's That's one they were wiping their brow on, right? Of course, Icarus this time around said, hey, I'm coming right back down. I don't have flash, but I do have red buff. The immediate back away, though, says a little bit differently. Groundhog and Courtney both sitting on decently low HP, so I don't think they want to challenge. However, Cloud Dragon is currently up. Might not be bad to clear it off the rift. But of course, SUNY, last time, game number 1, they had a decent amount of control over these global objectives. Let's see if they can do it here as well. Trial by Fire getting cut down a little bit, down to 50. Icarus saying, can't take this for free. Over to come in, but Dinky. I don't know how Man-Ape-like ended up back here, but you definitely did not enjoy it. You are dead to a wave by one of the more silly situations to be in.
I think Man-Ape was trying to proxy farm a little bit there. Unfortunately, no escape button, and Dinky might be behind, but with an entire minion wave to help him, was able to find the counter kill. That is a little bit unfortunate. This fight bot side doesn't end Orbital, and it frankly probably won't as long as SUNY wants to engage this, because Groundhog and Courtney are low on health. They are not strong enough to fight this.
And they heal? That was a heal. Courtney saying, hey, we need to keep ourselves soft up, which is not the worst thing in the world, but surprising. It is going to stave off a lot more in the gauge. SUNY go ahead and back away. They got the summoner spell. They're okay. Just, all right, little bit of preemptive summoner spell usage.
Yeah, I think partially it's also because Icarus was tanking up that comp. It was getting kind of dicey. They weren't sure who was rotating in, and that's why I like what SUNY was doing. They were piling on the pressure, knowing that they had the advantage from that bot lane. Groundhog and Courtney were both so low that if they ever misstep, if any CC catches them, they die. Icarus, face first.
Yep, you're talking about NECC. Icarus realizing they're caught in a bad place. That is going to be that nether grass. Easy, easy kill. And I mean, that's just handed to Zekrom. This is the level 6, level 7 that we were talking about. As soon as Malzahar gets this, on repeat, it's like the Nocturne ultimate, right? As soon as you get this nether grass, you're good. There's nothing else to it, just press R.
Yeah, maybe you can't do it alone, but hey, somebody was there and helped out. Now, something that happened off-screen, Orbital. Man-Ape-like got the solo kill onto Dinky. So it didn't work the first time, but it worked that time. Clearlove taking a bunch of damage. Has to be careful. An EQ combo could see the Silas dead.
I mean, you don't. Oh, okay. So you were trying not to lose that one, but you do. But this is going to be on the enemy jungle. Take a look at the map. Yeah, this is going to be Icarus running in here. You know that Zekrom does have flash, but doesn't have ult, so you can get the damage. In comes Lil Gareth, though. Only level 5. Does not have the ult behind it either. You're getting some good melee damage down, so at least some of those orbs are going to drop into your pocket, but look how much damage Zekrom at level 7 burning through Trial by Fire. I mean, this is going to be no real sapling kill, but you can at least dive this. This is going to be a run-in. You were trying to give it over to Lil Garrett, but it's not going to happen. That might be a chance, but the chains go the wrong way. The chains went the wrong way. It could have hit Lil Garrett, but it doesn't. Lil Garrett makes out in a big way.
Okay, I was going to say Trial by Fire stole that kill. Did they need to go that deep? No, they didn't. They took it, but it's redeemed. Great sidestep from Lil Garrett means the chains landed on Trial by Fire instead, and the CC bot that is a Maokai was able to happily soak that CC and pick up that kill. It does leave Swaggerban alone in this bot lane, though. Does have flash, but so does Groundhog and Courtney.
And Swaggerban's just chilling, right? Let's go back to this. Last time around, it was actually, I think, the likes of, no, it was Swaggerban. That did the same thing, right? On this area, was just like, I'm alone. That's fine. Here's the thing. Swaggerban on their own, the frustrating thing is in Aphelios, I feel if they have the right guns, they can actually overpower just about any other 1v2 lane. Like, if you're even, if you step up wrong, if you let the wrong damage source through, Swaggerban's like, I could probably take you guys. I say that with all insincerity. But it is still one of those that Courtney and Groundhog can't take it lightly, even though it's just
I think a large problem as well for Courtney and Groundhog right now is that they're not level 6, so Courtney doesn't have that big engage with the Pop Blossom. Now Void Corrupt's being started up by Ole Miss. Don't forget, Ole Miss lost Prio in the mid lane. I like what they're doing.
Smite is down.
But Zekrom's not going to let them take more than one.
Yep, Smite was also down as well. Icarus tried to use that to clear him out a little bit faster, but this is going to be a problem. Remember, look at the AoE that's coming down in the 3-2 split. Dinky is joining in a little bit later, but Man-Ape-like says that's not really my main objective. We have the ults ready to go, but we need to secure this objective. And so when you take a look at this, oh, Garrett now jumping in as well. It's now a 4v3 if they so wish, more like a 4v1, and the conceding by Ole Miss Red, unfortunately, is very warranted.
And Dinky is still extended in this top lane, despite knowing the amount of bodies nearby. Are they going to go for it?
I mean, that's a huge wave. I don't think you really want to. I mean, Lil Garrett could do some work, but I think Dinky should be okay. Yeah, your under tower is fine. Man-Ape-like didn't really want to lose that out. So instead of a kill, you gain about 5 to 6 CS extra over your opponent.
Yeah, and you get to shove Dinky back, so Dinky will have to burn teleport to get back to lane or lose the entire wave there. And if he uses teleport, that means he won't be available for the next couple of fights. Overall, let's touch on what should have happened probably for Ole Miss. When you see a numbers advantage for SUNY on the top side, it means that conversely, Ole Miss have a numbers advantage on the bot side. And Courtney actually ticked level 6 while that happened. Had Flash available, we were talking about trying to punish Nephilios. 200 years of design, sure, gives you a lot of damage, but it also makes your bones damn brittle. So you get popped if you can actually find them. But we didn't see the engage. And Swagaban is still straight chilling in this bot lane and now with a 2-level advantage because he's not being punished.
He's just having a ball. He's just like, I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to keep farming, even though it's a 200 gold lead. We haven't talked about the extensive gold lead here at 11 minutes.
Yeah.
It is about 4K. The kills don't line up either, but it is a ridiculous situation to be in. And I mean, I don't know if Ole Miss Red actually understand that. Yeah, like these plates. And I didn't give props to SUNY last time as well. They took 2 full towers before 14 with 3 more on the bottom. Like, that was crazy to me. That's going to be a little bit of hit, though, as Manny Black may have gone a little bit too far. Tries to bring the ult down and the shield. And Dinky realizes they're in a little bit of trouble, but they're going to follow up. They're going to say they still have the Counter-Strike available.
Cooldowns, 2 seconds!
And they do. Just one more wallop with the lamp brings it home, and Manny Black and Dinky are rounding it out on the top lane.
That was split seconds. Bot side action happens. Lil Garrett and Icarus both here.
Just as soon as the top side is now the bot side, but the bot blossom doesn't do anything. Good root by the side of Swagabon, and it is well held. Now, Humble Trespass catches him out, but you are a little bit low. Feathers being recalled back doesn't do as much damage as you hope.
Gravitum
makes a lot of damage, not doing much either. The burst comes out of Icarus, though. And Trial by Fire lives by the skin of their teeth. Only one dead on the bot lane.
Oh, well, I'm tilted watching Trial by Fire not die for the second time this game with fractions of health. I can't imagine how Ole Miss is feeling right now that they can't seem to take down this massive tree. Just action just exploding across the map. And Orbital, top side, I want to go back there because it came down to literally half a second, like half a frame even between the two. The fact that the auto from Dinky landed first, Man Ape like actually stalled long enough for the cooldowns to come back up. And it's because the animation for the abilities took longer than an auto that Man Ape like lost that fight. That is how close this top side is right now.
It's quite fun. At the same time, though, a lot of these fights are happening not because Dinky is actually pushing in or anything like that. These fights are occurring under the towers, so even though we're talking about how evenly it can swing, we do have to keep in mind it's really on Man Ape. Like, are you going to overextend? Are you going to push and take more damage than you probably should? That's, I think, really the tipping point there. And actually, Man Ape like said, screw that. I don't even want to worry about that. Let's go ahead, head to the mid lane, and maybe help out there. As Lil Garrett is trying to farm up. Remember, that mid lane is now open, so Clear Love does not have that safety that you normally would have.
Yeah, the fact that Zekrom managed to take that solo. Now, when we were talking gold, what was interesting is you're talking about gold differentials. The biggest gold difference, and most of that, oh my goodness, is it almost 6k gold right now? Wait, yeah, that's insane. Yeah. Okay, you talking about it for 4k at the time. Yeah, as you can see on your screen, thank you, observers, 3k in that mid lane. And Clear Love right now has less gold than the support of SUNY. Clear Love has been beaten and abused because of those early shenanigans with the junglers getting involved. Yeah, sure, they killed Lil Garrett, but it set Clear Love so far behind in the mid lane as a process that Zekrom is just running that lane right now.
Oh, well, you know what lane isn't running right now? You can't hop over the wall. It's a little bit too fat. Man Ape like crashes right in. There is going to be death. By the way, I'd also like to point out Trial by Fire actually has, well, maybe not now, but at that point, more gold than 4 members of Ole Miss Red. That is correct. 4 members were down. That is going to be an ult coming out here. Nethergrass. Zekrom is going to try, but they both dug right into the roots, and it's going to be so easy. Look at the poison. The ticking damage is real. Trial by Fire there just to make sure they burn. 2 kills traded for your top lane.
Not gonna die. A little bit disappointed we didn't see another sapling kill from Trial by Fire and a turret. I was kind of hoping.
Okay. What's worse, dying to sapling or dying to the poison or the tick from Zekrom? Which is worse?
Dying to sapling.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
And a turret.
I can't deny that.
And fun, Zekrom too is not running the Leandries that we often see with Malzahar to just add burn damage. Yes, he's gone for the Haunting Guys, but actually rushed the Malignants first, which is interesting. Bot side, Trial by Fire. Noel doesn't need
All right. Listen, they just don't want you to talk RMC. They're just not letting you at all. However, that Pop Blossom does enough. In comes the Chakram into the Moonlight Vigil, and it's a beauty to behold. Aphelios painting a picture.
A new
now
challenger
for a
approaches.
second. As in goes the Twisted Advance, keeps Icarus at bay.
Not
again! Fire again! That is the third time, and Courtney can do nothing. A flash forward with the auto attack should be able to bring it home. No, the poison just sticks out. Trial by Fire, the third time that they have survived on under 100 HP.
Courtney doing the right thing. She doesn't stop at that bush and just keeps on going. Be safe. Yeah, I am. Trial by Fire is totally watching this ball lane right now. Third time. And it's only going to get worse from here, Orbital. Like, Trial by Fire has the highest kill participation on the map. This is not usual. Usually it's the junglers who are ganking. But though Garrett is farming, is now blue king. And Trial by Fire has been the one who's actually been ganking all the lanes. 2-0-7. That means a lot of gold is going into his pocket. And once he gets tankier, that tilt factor, Orbital, is going to get magnified.
Well, round number, what is this, like 5, 6, I think? Manip like said, I'm taking a timeout. Don't try and do this to me. Electricity comes down because you did go that Riftmaker, as you were talking about RMC, a little bit extra oomph behind some of the abilities, but Dinky actually has a lot of confidence now, which I really, really do like. We talked about the eyes kind of spotting out there. Maybe the junglers aren't showing as much, but the fact that Dinky is 3-3 and already has a Trinity Force built, that feels good, and you gotta play like it. You gotta play like you got the items in hand.
Yeah, like we said, the Jax, if you can survive the laning phase, it goes much better for you. Even now, you can see that, sure, Manape like is winning the short trade, but that's because of the shield, and the longer the fight goes, the worse it gets for him. Lil Garrett thinking about diving. They've brought plenty of backup.
But Trial by Fire realizes that there's backup in all areas. Icarus gonna go ahead and body block out, but they have to run for alive on top. Icarus gets knocked back, and the death blooms from below. Where did that TP come from, though? I was watching where it went, and I think it was denied. Clearlove got denied on the bot side, so feels really bad there. And SUNY free to reign supreme on this top lane. Very well done.
Clearlove, you owe Zekrom at least a cup of coffee, man. Zekrom just saved the TP from coming through and still lived. The dive coming through under turret.
It's just going to get worse and worse. The Umble trusts us and more. The Feather Storm can't keep you safe. The Root comes in from long range as little Garrett will get the 15th for the team. This game is breaking wide open.
I can only just imagine Dinky right now in this game. Like, guys, hello? Like, I won my lane, guys. I did what I had to do. And then suddenly everybody's dogpiling into that lane. And Dinky's like, what happened? How did y'all get so fed?
It's like the reverse Darius, right? Like, or the reverse Darius situation. It's like Darius is usually the one back in the old days, is unfortunately getting all the pain. This time around, it's just like, Dinky did great. Dinky is having a ball. Yeah. You're having a good time. Right now, though, SUNY realized it doesn't matter. We are currently in the lead. We're going to keep pressuring. They took 2 really quickly on the top side. Now they're going to take the mid. Maybe push her an inhibitor tower if they can get Icarus, but Icarus is going to live. Because of that, the wave is cut. No reason to do anything else. Instead, SUNY say, we'll take the waves. We'll take your bot side jungle. With Dragon coming up in 30 seconds, we'll look at that too.
SUNY will say they'll take whatever they damn well please, right? Like, Herald's up. If they want to take that, it will despawn shortly. But if you start the combat up, and it's a minute 30 seconds, you've got more than enough. As you said, Dragon coming up as well. And right now, Ole Miss can't be looking at that. You're looking to just pick up minions. And the only places Ole Miss can probably find a winning fight in anywhere approaching equal numbers is either under a turret or at Baron. So either way, that's going to happen later on. For now, just take as much CS as you can. Level up, get XP, try and catch up best you can.
Do what you can, scrounge what you will. Even if it's on the streets, you gotta do what you gotta do here. And that's the thing that I do appreciate out of Ole Miss Red. You and I think, have cast their main roster a few times. We've cast Ole Miss in the past, right? And one of the things that I've always enjoyed is their willingness to scrap at any moment, right? Like, they are more than willing to try and pull the trigger on a lot of the fights, and that's something that you do have to have as a team that sometimes will fall behind, or knowing how to play from behind. And one of those is literally break it down to its bare basics. What do? You get CS and maybe get a kill here and there. Everything else doesn't matter if you're behind. You just get the small wins. Of course, right now, the main win is going to be this Hextech Dragon going the way of SUNY. And it's Infernal again. What do you know? I actually really like this. Listen, I feel with the change to Infernal, every game is like, please, can we push this dragon as much as possible?
Well, I don't know if Ole Miss will agree right now if you're stuck in base and can't actually pick up any of the cinders.
Oh no.
Oh, Dinky. Oh no.
Oh, this is, yeah.
Do we need 3 people to do this?
No, but also you didn't need to leave him to the burn. The dot is just too good. Now it's going to be a reverse try here. Swagavan is going to walk away. Huge guns as well. Moonlight Vigil lands on 3, and look at the burn! What did we say? That's 200 years in the books. Triple kill on the hold. The ace, because Man Ape like took down the top lane. It is 5 gone as SUNY stormed the base.
I'm sorry, we were asking the wrong questions. It's not how many people do you need to kill Dinky. It's how many people do you need to kill Swagaban. 3 members, high damage, and Swagaban turns it around with 1 massive Infernum ultimate. And now Icarus back in base trying to stop this. I don't think you even walk up to this.
Nope, you can. I mean, this is Rift Herald in the base. Rift Herald, where you going, buddy? Where you going? The rest of the fight's somewhere else. The fountain can't keep you alive. SUNY burning them down. It doesn't matter how much you try. SUNY will destroy your lives. Ole Miss Red can do nothing but wait. A final auto will tag and buff those stats as it's GG for SUNY Canton as they take the 2-0 tonight.
Back-to-back triple kills for Swagaban. 1 in a 1v3. 2nd in a fountain. We don't have hexakills in League of Legends Orbital, but that's as close as you're gonna get.
That is one of those moments that you're looking at Vanderbilt videos and watching, what happens on there, and that was one of those. It's just like, bro, can we just stop having people die over and over? Like, that is ridiculous. And I give props.
Yeah.
I talked about the fact that in game number 1, SUNY felt like they had the right tools. It just felt like they were taking these a little bit slow. I mentioned that I want to see them be able to push this is them pushing that limit to like the extreme. There was a moment where we were just watching all the towers fall. I'm like, how bad? It got bad.
Yeah, and in a way, I think it was limit testing as well by SUNY a little bit. At least I'm going to assume that to keep my sanity, because Trial by Fire was right at the limit multiple times. And one of the things you have to keep in mind when teams are limit testing is they look either really good or really bad. This game, they looked absolutely incredible, and it's from every single lane as well. All of them had their pop-off moments, so huge props to SUNY. And Elite 1 Division, better watch out. They're newly promoted, but they are coming in hot. Let's talk Ole Miss a little bit, Orbital, because Game 2 ended a lot more one-sided than Game 1. But I actually thought the early game from Ole Miss Red was better in that game too. And Dinky survived top lane, great. Trading 1-for-1, being able to do that as the Jackson to Volbear, props to him. But the bot lane as well, Groundhog and Courtney, I thought they had, at least early on in the 2v2, it actually was pretty close, right up to the moment of this one misstep. And Courtney just gets punished by Trial by Fire. And then they never quite recovered from them. But before that, they were actually pressuring decently well. And unfortunately, when you're playing against an Aphelios, you got to keep that pressure on. You got to break those 200-year-old bones, or else it comes online, and then I'm sorry, like it's just really hard to try and match at that point.
Yeah, I think for Ole Miss Red, there's a lot of things to go back to the drawing board for. I think there's a lot of things that you can be very happy about. You went against a squad that, coming in as champions of another division, it still holds a pretty heavy banner over your head. So for Ole Miss Red, a lot of time to improve, a lot of time to work through as you work through the rest of this round robin stage. There are going to be more games on the horizon, maybe even a playoff round for them as well. I'm very excited to see. RMC, any final words here?
Well, it's week 1, Orbital. Honestly, teams are coming in cold. Results don't matter, but congratulations, SUNY. You take that win, you keep running with it.
Don't cheapen SUNY's win right now. SUNY Canton are your victors here tonight, here in the ECAC opening week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, of course, the week is not done, as Sunday is going to see even more action, as well as the CECC West Open Qualifier Finals are going to be starting at 3 p.m. PT, with Rocket League, Overwatch, and Valorant all being played. So make sure to tune in there. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, though. My name is Ordo. With me has been Random Minion Cast, or of course our production, Leighton, as well as Colton. We appreciate them as well, and to all of you who tuned in, have a fantastic night.
Triple kill. Red team's turret has been destroyed. Minions spawn.